Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and we're going to be discussing the exam grades fiasco again, hopefully for the last time. So we've had Boris Johnson now, and his government specifically, announced the expected U-turn on exam grades. They've shelved their algorithm, and they're going to go with teacher predictions. In this video, I'm going to explain what the fallout that is going to be. It doesn't magically solve all the problems. There are still problems. And I'm just going to add my own thoughts onto it as well. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, U-turns first of all. This is another massive U-turn. Now, we've seen a number of U-turns from the government in the last 6 months. In fact, it's at a rate of more than one a month, really. First of all, they initially said that, we're going to let COVID do its thing, take it on the chin. We'll all develop herd immunity without a vaccine. They U-turned on that. Thank God. But they U-turned on that. Then they said, no, there's no problem with having loads of people attending sporting events, mass gatherings. Of course, it's fine. Everyone's making a fuss. U-turned on that. Then lockdown. We weren't going to go into lockdown. That was ridiculous. Boris Johnson ridiculed countries who did. Ridiculous state of affairs. And then we did. Far too late. Much later than even countries who did it too late. But there we go. Another U-turn. Then there were the surcharges for foreign NHS staff. Charging foreign NHS staff who already pay their taxes, the same taxes at the same rate that I do, for which I get my NHS treatment. They were having to pay extra to access the NHS. They stuck by that for a while, then they U-turned on that as well. Trying to take free school meals from kids in poverty over this summer. We thought, well, everything going on, this scheme should run through summer. Government said no. Even though that scheme was cheaper than the giving free meal vouchers to middle class people who could afford to eat out at a restaurant. But they U-turned on that one. Wearing face masks in indoor settings where you're going to have lots of strangers? No, we're not doing that. Of course we're not doing that. That would be madness. Well, now we are doing that, so they U-turned on that one as well. And now the A-level and the head of this Thursday's GCSE results, which was also going to face this piss-poor algorithm. I will make the point. Some people are making the point, and I feel I have to as well. When we're talking about blaming the algorithm, what we remember it, some people have taken the view that we shouldn't have left our children's futures to an algorithm. No, that's wrong. There was absolutely nothing wrong with using an algorithm. The problem was the algorithm was crap because the people who designed it were a combination of useless, and also it was quite clear to me it was deliberately intended to inflate the grades of people privately educated and suppress the life chances of people educated in state schools and colleges. The algorithm, the idea of using, algorithms should have been used to give people confidence. But we've got this whole series of U-turns. Now, I am going to draw a parallel again with what happened in Scotland, because both good and bad. So remember what happened in Scotland. The results came out. They came out ahead of England, Wales and Northern Ireland. And the Scottish government initially took the same line that the English government have, effectively. It's really the British government. But in England, Wales and Northern Ireland. And they blamed teachers. They did all the dirty tricks that the Conservative ministers have been pulling as well. But then about a week later, public pressure, student protests, all the rest of it, forced them to back down and go with teacher predictions. And then Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister, the leader of the SNP, apologised. Now, yes, we know that they only backed down because of public pressure. But she faced up to it and she apologised. She didn't throw someone else under the bus. She apologised. Now, you can argue what's happened in this, in the rest of the UK is no different. What happened, by the way, yesterday morning is Northern Ireland announced that they were going to use teacher grades. Then Wales announced that they were as well. By the time Wales announced it, I already knew, because senior correspondents were already been briefed that we were going to change tack in England as well, even though it hadn't been officially announced. And so we've had this U-turn. Now, this U-turn is also taking place. It's a bit less than a week later. Now, you can look at the scenario and say, well, actually, it's no different to in Scotland. It's no different to in Scotland. But in reality, it is. Because Boris Johnson hasn't fronted up to the public and apologised. There has been no apology. Neither Boris Johnson nor Gavin Williamson, the Education Secretary, have taken a press conference and answered questions, because there are still questions to be answered. So although in one way you can say both Scottish Government and, the Westminster Government both initially tried to blame teachers and then U-turned because of public pressure, Scottish Government apologised and the boss apologised. That's the difference. That is the difference here. No apology. And these people are completely incapable of apologising. That is the thing, isn't it? They are incapable. Boris Johnson, I have no doubt that Boris Johnson's mindset at the moment is why have we had to do this? And they've tried to explain to him, Prime Minister, because people are saying it's unfair. But didn't I say last Thursday it was totally fair? It was robust and it was a very fair system. Yes, you did, Prime Minister. So why are people complaining? Because they say it's unfair. But I said it was fair. I said it was fair. Why? What? He can't understand the concept. With one of these people from an extremely privileged background. I mean, there's a lot of people from a privileged background. By many people's standards, I may have come from a privileged background. I got to go to university, at least. Good one. But nonetheless, there's an upper limit where no one ever says no to you. And that's the background he's come from, where people just don't say no to him. Or if they do, he can ignore them. He hasn't ever really had someone put him in his place. So he doesn't understand. When he says a thing, he doesn't understand why people just don't go along with it. And that is fundamentally the problem with having very privileged people in a position like this, because they don't listen to the public. But anyway, it is what it is. There are still problems. So problem number one, if we'd have had an algorithm from the start that had just made sure that the results that schools and colleges were submitting were broadly in line with their own recent performances, then, and with an appeals process for the small number of exceptional students who may have had a case for saying, actually, this won't work with me, then what you'd have found is that the results wouldn't have been very far different to teacher predictions in the first place, and the whole system would have been fine, and everyone would have had confidence in it. The problem now is everyone can see that the government backed down due to pressure. So anyone who is of the view that teachers inflated their predictions, which I have to say they did not, no school or college would have sent in results that looked like you were trying to take the piss, otherwise you knew you were going to get clobbered. In fact, some schools and colleges, I think, may have even erred on the side of caution. Let's say they were having a really good year this year. They may have gone, well, they won't believe it. We'd better model it on previous years. And maybe shot themselves and their students in the foot just by trying to, be above board. So, but the narrative was put out by the government that teachers have inflated their grades. Employers, for example, may see the situation and they may think that this has happened and that the grades are now inflated and that the government only backed down due to pressure. And therefore, anyone trying to use those A-level grades from the 2020 cohort may be viewed with, for the top grades especially, may be viewed with a bit of suspicion by future employers. And that's unfair. And there's nothing can be done about that now. It doesn't matter what the government say. It doesn't actually even matter if they apologise and say that they got it badly wrong. Can you give that confidence back to employers that actually what we've got now is the most accurate system we could have done? I mean, actually, the most accurate system we could have come up with is to have sat the exams in the first place. Because remember, although we had to close schools, at round about the time we could have been sitting the exams, we were opening pubs. If we can open pubs, why couldn't we open exam centres? Yes, people would have missed that last bit of really one-on-one tuition with teachers. We were still providing what we could in terms of support remotely, but we could have had them sit the exams. And I keep getting comments from people in different countries going, how are you not sitting exams? Yeah, but we are where we are. The exams weren't sat. given that we were where we were, we had to use an algorithm. We could have used it and we could have given confidence. So the confidence will have lost. Next problem. Some universities have already allocated their places. So students are now going to get their centre assessed grades, which are going to be good enough to get those university places. But the university is going to say, sorry, we're full. They've given them to someone else. Now, I made a little bit of a quip yesterday that I noted that France has massively expanded the number of university places for this year as a result of various things. And I would like someone to put it to Boris Johnson. I see France have massively increased the number of university places. Are you saying that your world-beating government isn't as good as France? Are you going to let France beat you? Because I need someone to say that to him. Put it in that term publicly. But they won't. So I can't imagine the government will do anything to help expand the number of places. Whether it's even feasible or not, I don't know. But if it's feasible in France, why not here? But, so some of those students have now lost out on those places. The best they can possibly hope for now, and the government need to work to make this happen, is take a year out. To be honest, taking a year out is no bad thing. Gap year, do some work, do your stuff. And then apply and maybe the government need to say to those universities, you need to honour these places for next year. At the very least, the government needs to do that. Quite frankly, at the very least, maybe universities should just do that. People have pointed out that what's happened here is the government have now U-turned like this, though they've absolved themselves of responsibility because they're not even apologising. They've now dumped the problems onto universities. Universities are now going to be in the firing line because people from disadvantaged backgrounds who have now got their A's have been told by the university, sorry, you can't come in. And now the universities are going to be the bad guys. It's the government at the very, very, very least need to be saying, in a scenario like this, to those universities, you need to honour those places for next year, for the next cohort. And as I say, it wouldn't be a bad outcome for those students to go and do some work for a year. Gap years can be very rewarding for those who engage in them. Obviously, travel is not going to be a sensible option for your gap year, but do some work. Do some work, whether it's voluntary work or paid work, do something or do some personal projects, develop. You'll have a year's worth of extra maturity when you then go to university. But whether the government will work for that end, I don't know either. So you still do have problems that need sorting, problems that I don't know whether the government are even going to face up to. But that being said, at least this chapter is closed. At least the government have finally backed down again, proving again once and for all, they cannot get anything right. This government cannot get anything right. And the sooner the people who can get rid of them, which are the party's own MPs, realise this. Sorry if you can see flies buzzing around. They're buzzing around. The better. Because these cock-ups are going to carry on happening. They're going to carry on happening until Johnson and his cronies are gone. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Hopefully the last thoughts you'll have to hear on the subject for a while at any rate. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. Until next time, I'll see you later.